Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I just finished with my second vestibular disorders for stroke and traumatic brain injury support group. um, it's monthly, and there were 4 people who came, even though the link on the website didn't work. So that's pretty good. Anyway, one of my favorite people showed up. It's a gentleman who, I don't know, he's just a sweet older man who lost his wife about 5 years ago, less than 5 years ago. And he started having a vestibular disorder. And I don't know, I just really adore him. He's just a sweet man. And I think he really is struggling. He's struggling with grief. It's apparent to me that he's grieving, and he's grieving a lot. I think he's grieving, um, he probably processed the loss of his wife, but I think there's always that existing grief that I imagine when you've been married for a lifetime to somebody and then they pass away, that there's a grief that never goes away. And he's retired, so it's not like he has a full-time job or anything. He's got his family nearby. But I think he's grieving the loss of his capabilities because he has a vestibular disorder that's very similar to mine. At least when he talks about it, it seems very similar to mine. And he he sometimes talks to the point where I wish I could do something, when you hear somebody who's just struggling and you wish there was something that you could do. I wish I could go sit with him or something. I can't do that. But at the end of the meeting today, we were the last 2 people in the group, and he was like, if you ever want to talk or need to talk, I would love for you to email me or call me. And I was like, okay. So I took his email address and his phone number, and we'll see. I mean, I feel like I should send him an email, and it's a little out of my comfort zone to just pick up the phone and call him. But I don't know. We'll see. What it starts to make me think of is the woman, the neighbor of mine. Those of you who are longtime listeners, the neighbor of mine who all of a sudden we befriended me, and then all of a sudden it was overwhelming and I couldn't handle it. I don't want to get in another situation like that, but I do want to be a friend as well. So all that to say, it's just interesting that it's like my day has come full circle, because this morning's meeting was what I heard in this morning's meeting was trusting in our higher power and our recovery program, having faith in throughout the seasons of grief and growth. Like, faith is not something that I only have in good times. Faith is the purpose of growing it in good times, is so that it's still blooming in tough times. And it's really easy, like, for those petals to close when I'm going through a storm, and when I see that somebody else is going through something similar, I wish I could find the words. I sat in that meeting and I heard him struggling. He was struggling. And I didn't have words that were going to fix it. I rarely have words that are going to fix my own struggles. And one thing he said was, when I'm here, meaning in the sport group, he said, when I'm here, everything is okay. And I thought, it doesn't matter what I don't have to come up with some brilliant thing to say. Um, I feel like a lot of times when I'm doing the podcast, I feel the same way, I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about faith in full flower and trusting in our higher power through seasons of grief and growth. And it's going to be so inspirational. But I have to recognize that sometimes everything's just okay when we just show up, right? And when you just click play, hopefully what you're getting from the podcast is everything is okay right now. Everything is okay right now. I'm not alone right now. I'm not struggling right now because I clicked play, and that means that I want to be a better version of myself. And when I click record on the other end, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I'm thinking, as long as I am talking about my experience, everything is okay. There is nothing brilliant that I have to say. We're all just showing up for each other. That's all we're doing here. And and sobriety early on felt like that too. I heard people saying in the meetings in the beginning, it was like, when I'm in this meeting, everything is okay. Um, it's the other 23 hours of the day that I'm worried about. And that's why there's resources outside of the meeting so that we don't have to be alone for the other 23 hours of the day. Um, and I think that's why sometimes family members, our loved ones, can get a little jealous towards AA or other support groups because we are finding that thing that we need in something outside of our relationships that we already have. And that was something that came up this morning in our morning literature. The story was in Living Sober, and it was a really, really heavy story. It was talking about grief and talking about that beginning of sobriety when things are tough and we find the only comfort, true um, true relief is when I'm sitting in a room with other people like me. And that's how I feel now in my vestibular support groups as well, and in my stroke support groups. It's interesting because the stroke support groups, we all experienced something, and we may have experienced it a little differently for different reasons and all that stuff, but we all had the same thing happen. The same part of our body was injured, yet we all came out of it with a different deficit or disability. And none of that matters because as long as I'm in there in that support group, I know that everything is okay. During my this vestibular support group today, I was painting because it just like for the podcast where a lot of times I'm not looking at my video or anything like that. So same thing. I was not looking at the people in the room very much. I was painting this little brooch, if you can see it. Those of you who are looking at the video, I found this little ceramic, I don't know, piece of pottery, and I stuck a pin on the back of it. I super glued it on the back, and now I'm painting the front of it. So that's what I was doing during the support group. And I had a headache all day long. I had a pretty screaming migraine today. And the reason why I did is because I decided this morning that I was going to find some yarn. I was going to surf the internet and find some yarn for my next project. And I don't know why I did that. It's sometimes I'm just like boycotting my own disability. I'm like, I'm not going to pretend that you're real right now, and I'm gonna find some yarn. And I didn't find the yarn, and I paid for it with a headache that increased and increased all day long until about 3 o'clock. About 2:45, I had to take some leave. And when the headache gets to that point, a leave will help. If you're looking at the video, I'm still having my eyes still hurt, but the classic headache in my temples is less. It's less. Um, anyway, I was sitting in the meeting and I was painting and I was feeling my headache and but it was okay. You know, it was all right. And when I listened to my new friend in the meeting and he was struggling, I was thinking, I'm okay. And when I shared about, he was talking about he can't do this, he can't do that, he can't drive. So I went ahead and said, I understand. I can't drive. I can't watch TV. I can't do this. I can't do that. And he responded to me and said, I can still do some of the things that you can't do. And that was, I think, a powerful moment for him, whether he notices it or not. He doesn't have a headache every day like I do. He doesn't have a migraine. He is able to watch TV, and some other things that he can do. So I feel like maybe that gave him a little bit of gratitude for some things that he can still do. And that doesn't dismiss the fact that, like, we all used to be what we felt like we were complete human beings, and now we feel like we're broken. Um, but I think going to support group meetings helps us all feel that even though we may feel like we've been forgotten by doctors and trying to find help and it's just nowhere to be found, we can go into a room and just be with people who understand. There was one person in the meeting who didn't say much. And what she did say at one point was, "You're so positive." That's what she said to me. And I think she said that right before I had a bunch of negative stuff to say about having a migraine all day long today. But I think that when I show up to something like that, a support group meeting, when we all show up, or this podcast, it's a community. You are a part of a community. You guys don't know each other, but I know you. And we're all inviting some grace into our lives when we click play or when I click record. And when I enter into a support group meeting, be it AA, vestibular, or stroke, I'm inviting some grace and some patience into my life, into my day. Um, and that kind of thing needs to happen no matter what kind of day I'm having. Like, um, I'll just share, I was contemplating whether to share this or not, but my brother is having a little procedure today on the old ticker, and I'm preoccupied by it all day, and he's going to be fine. It's a routine procedure, but whenever anyone has a procedure on their ticker, um, it's worrisome, and it made me start thinking about how abruptly um, we lose people in our lives. That's terrible, but I'm just telling you the truth. That's where my head went today. And yesterday, as I was mentally preparing for something that I just don't want to be real. I don't want my brother to need anything to be done to his ticker at all. I want him to be perfect. But that's not reality. And because of it, I reached out to a couple people today that crossed my mind because I was thinking of how some events just happen in an instant in our lives. Like grief doesn't wait for our permission, it just shows up when we least expect it. When we least expect it, that's kind of a stupid thing to say. It just shows up. And it doesn't matter if we brace for impact or we just soften into surrender when it comes to grief. Um, we, for me, I can't make a grief plan. And maybe that's something that I need to figure out. I have the rest of my life, another half of my life to figure that out. But figuring out, what do I do? What kind of action do I take when I feel grief? Um, Dealing with something that was expected, like losing somebody that was expected, um, was a little different for me. That happened last year. There was somebody that was very sick, and I knew that eventually he was going to pass away. And because my higher power is everything outside of myself, including those that I have lost, I kept reminding myself that during this time when he was getting very ill and getting closer to that time when he was going to let go, I thought, I know where he's going. He's going into my higher power. That's where he's going. He's here right now, but I get to keep him with me for the rest of my life. He's going into my higher power. And when he passed away, I felt that. I felt that shift from having him be something on earth to having him be something here. And that was really powerful for me. It made the experience a lot easier. Sorry, my saliva glands are really spitting today. It made the experience for me um a lot easier. It allowed me to soften into it. Um as opposed to bracing for impact. And I think what I've been doing lately is in this mindset that I've been talking to you guys about, that I've been going to my psychiatrist about, is like I'm always bracing for impact. Um, I can do things like get on my knees before I go to bed and say, "Thy will be done, not mine." Um, and I can use my God box and I can do all of that stuff. But I'm still bracing for impact. And I am trying to learn the difference between the two. Um, I think when I first had my stroke and I was dealing with this vestibular disorder, um, since I wasn't able to brace for impact, I was trying to slowly soften myself into surrender. And it's been really difficult to to do it that way, you know? Managing these symptoms of being human are, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. Um, Having grief of loss, anxiety, fatigue, uncertainty, and still showing up. Sorry. No, Autumn. Autumn wants to make an appearance every day, apparently. Every day. Right, Autumn? Um, and still showing up for ourselves is like a huge freaking deal. It's a huge deal. And I think we have to give ourselves credit. Like faith, having faith in times that are tough is not just showing up, but it's like having hope. It's like showing up and having hope too. And I feel like when the woman in the support group today said to me, "You're so positive," it made me feel like I was patting myself on the back. Like, I'm not just showing up, I'm having hope too. Um, I'm keeping the faith. What song is that? Keeping the faith. I don't know. I have to look that up. But what I need to do is also celebrate how far I've come. It's like I I keep seeing the fight ahead of me, and um I'm not measuring the growth behind me, you know? I feel like I'm always white knuckling. I feel like I'm always bracing myself. Um, and I think what I wanted to, um, I guess really tell myself today is to just loosen up, to just relax. Um, Being able to share my grief, share my struggles is something that I think we were meant to do as human beings. Like we were a grief, I think it's a pain shared is divided in half or something like that. Grief shared is grief softened. Um, Being able to show up and share our grief I've done that for the past year and a half or 2 years. And now I show up to a support group meeting and I have somebody tell me, "You're so positive." Like that knocked me out of my chair just about. But that is, I think, what the process is of grieving. Like, I think I just experienced it come full circle where I started going to the Vestibular Disorders Association because I was lost and I was grieving the life I used to have before my stroke. And yet, it's only been a year since I started with the vestibular community. And I already have somebody telling me that I'm so positive. Um, the very least that I can do is have a support group meeting for people to come in and I can freely give to them what has been given to me. I can give to them what has been so freely given to me. And joy in my life does not mean that the pain is gone. It means that I'm not giving pain the last word, you know? I I'm gonna show up, and if I need to cry, I'm gonna cry. And then I'm going to keep walking and I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep sharing my experience, strength, and hope because if I can help someone else walk through that same shift to gently soften into surrender, and come out the other side with just the slightest bit of hope, then it's worth it. Like that's my purpose now, and I'm passionate about it. And I heard a lot of people yesterday in my support group meeting, vestibular support group meeting, talking about not quite finding their purpose yet. And I thought, well, I have, you know, I thought I have, which is pretty cool because those of you who have been listening for this time since I've started know that when I started, I hadn't, I hadn't yet. Um, And I'm going to have good days and bad days. Today, physically, was a bad day, but mentally, it was not. Mentally, I was able to keep walking forward. I was able to get my support group going. I made some candles, which are pretty groovy, by the way. And I also shampooed my carpet in my bedroom. That's a good day. I think just recently I was talking about that, like sometimes I have a hard day physically, but a good day mentally, and vice versa. And they really all matter. The physical, mental, and spiritual side, it all matters. And that's what helps me keep waking up each day and making that decision that I'm going to put 2 feet on the ground and I'm keep going. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks so much for listening. Side note, I just got a text and my brother's procedure went well and he is in recovery. So that was very timely and I'm very happy. So thanks for listening and I'll talk to you tomorrow.